I think I have a personal bias towards female founders. So we do work with a lot of female founders. So we have this rule in the company that no one employee would handle more than 3 clients.
Oh,
And the
okay.
moment it goes to 4, we hire another person. And we're
Oh,
very, very clear of it. It's a mandate that we have. What works beautifully well for one part of the world absolutely doesn't work for the
for
other
the
part of the
yeah.
world. If you have a choice between putting $1 million to Kim Kardashian or putting 100,000 each on 10 micro influencers
Influencers.
or putting $10,000 each in 100 nano influencers, which one will you do? And there's a whole math which says that the ROI would be greatest in nano
Nano
influencers,
influencers.
right? That reel generated about 40 lakh worth of sales for us, and we
Oh.
paid them just 50,000 rupees.
Welcome back to Flamcast, a space where we dive into everything mixed reality, marketing, and the craft behind creating unforgettable brand experiences. Today, we have been joined by Deepti Karthik. She is the founder at Decision Pinacle. They are the growth and marketing consultancy that helps D2C founders to scale up their businesses both at online and offline channels. Welcome, Deepti.
Hi, thank you so much, Nidhi, for having me here.
Dipti carries around 15 years of work experience across industry. She has worked with FMCG, consumer electronics, mobile, and fashion. How has that journey for you, Dipti?
I think the basics of marketing stay same. I think the consumer sort of stays same. But I would definitely say that if somebody were to ask me to rank the 3 categories, I would say that mobiles or electronic devices are a lot more left brained, and therefore there's a lot more rational and logical decision making, and therefore you can appeal to the consumer in a very logical manner. Everybody knows 5 megapixel camera is better than 2 megapixel camera. There's not a lot of subjectivity there. FMCG is somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
There is a rational side. So, for example, protein in the shampoo. And there is a emotional side or a function, emotional payoff. Your hair will look silky and shiny. Whereas apparel is completely subjective. You cannot say this white shirt is whiter than your white shirt. It's a white shirt. So it's completely subjective, and so the emotional payoff is much higher. It's not so much tech unless you're really selling a technical product.
Mhm.
But even then, I think the metric of FSLM really peaks with fashion. Is it for someone like me? Do I see my values embodied in this brand? And therefore, I think all three of them have different levels of complexity,
Okay.
and therefore different code of marketing itself. I have enjoyed each one of them, and I'm very, very lucky to have traversed the journey that I have.
Tell us more about Decision Pinnacle and some of the stellar work that you have been doing for brands across.
So Decision Pinacle came to existence in April 2023. It's going to be a year and 9 months now.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's my third baby. Very proud of it. However, when I started Decision Pinacle, I had very clear um, no goes and goes defined for me.
Mhm.
I wanted to make sure that I am using my experience to further, uh, you know, grow businesses that I truly believe in. So
Mhm.
it was personal this time and not just professional. And therefore, Decision Pinacle is all about working with young startups, and we are hoping that we grow with them as they grow.
Okay.
So, one of the considerations for us is that, are you young? Are you agile? Are you wanting to grow? And therefore, do our values match?
Match. Yeah.
Right. So and I think I have a personal bias towards female founders. So we do work with a lot of female founders, who I am very, very privileged to call my friends.
Okay.
We work with Simran from Koparo. We work with Pallavi from Super Bottoms. We work with Harini from Earth Rhythm. We work with Anchal from Little Muffet, another Anchal from Snooplay. I recently started working with Harini from Basil. So I am
So many
surrounded.
of them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a personal bias, and there's no turning away from that. But I think also being able to bring my experience in MNC and small startup together. So there is process dependence and there is agility, both put together in a mix that is win-win for the brand. So my first brand that we work with as Decision Pinacle was Sleepyhead.
Mhm.
And I worked with them as a fractional CMO for a period of 9 months.
Months. Yeah.
Within those 9 months, we did everything with them, from creating a catalog, new lifestyle, social media videos, including their brand campaign with Ranveer Singh.
Mhm.
And I think that was such a wonderful journey that I had. And, Matthew, who's the CEO, I cannot thank him enough for the kind of faith that he put in me, and for the kind of free hand that he gave. So to me, so important that you match at a value level of respect, and I'm able to sort of bring my best to a company where I'm given that trust and respect. The ability to choose the brands that I'm working with is an absolute advantage. And over the course of the last 19 odd months, um, we as a creative team, as a growth marketing team, we have a PR vertical also, and we also have a production arm.
Oh, okay.
We
You're doing production in-house?
Yes, we do.
Okay, for all the brands.
Not for all the brands, but for some brands.
Okay.
So between the creative team, the growth team, the PR team, and the production team,
yeah.
we are able to sort of bring a complete D2C as a service to a brand. So if the founder is taking care of the R&D and supply chain and logistics, then sales and marketing can completely be outsourced to Decision Pinnacle. But for some brands, we do it piecemeal. So for some brands, we could only be a growth partner. For some brands, we could only be the creative partner. And for some, we could be whole and soul. I think the journey has been amazing. The sheer number of brands that we've worked with, more than 20 brands now in less than 20 months, right?
Yeah.
So when you're acquiring brands or you're partnering with brands at a rate which is higher than the number of time period that you've been there,
Yeah.
I think it's super important that you're doing this mindfully, because each brand comes in with an expectation, and rightfully so. It's a partnership. So one must bring their full self to it. So we have this rule in the company that no one employee would handle more than 3 clients.
Oh,
And the
okay.
moment it goes to 4, we hire another person. And we're very, very clear of it. It's a mandate that we have, so that you're not diluting, because we as a company are growing.
Yes.
You're,
absolutely.
you're not diluted in our interests.
Okay.
Your interests stay, and we expand our team.
Okay. Moving on, you have received Impact 40 Under 40 award. How that has been for you?
I think it came at a time when I had started Decision Pinnacle, and it was 6 months down the line after I had started Decision
Okay.
Pinnacle. So as a year, it took into account my body of work at DaMensch and my body of work at Sleepyhead.
Mm-hmm.
So it was less about a brand, and it wrote so on the award. They were mentioning the combined work of Deepti Karthik across DaMensch and Sleepyhead. To me, it was really special.
Okay.
Because beyond a point in time, as a marketer, you're always wondering if the award is for you or the brand that you're working with.
Yeah. Now it was your brand.
Yes.
That you got it from.
So it was really special for me, and I said so on the stadium as well, that it's very difficult after a 15-year career to just let go of the comfort of working with a known brand.
Yeah.
It's really tough, and there are moments of self-doubt of, will I be considered the same way as I was when I had a Unilever on my CV or a Nokia on my visiting card, so on and so forth. But I think it was very reassuring, and I think the ecosystem has been amazing, very supportive. I think the reason Decision Pinnacle has continued to do well is because of the support that we're getting from the ecosystem.
Okay.
So I think the award was one of those validations that really meant a lot to me.
So how do emotions overpower logic in purchase decision?
I think whether it is food, and just let's look at all the food conversation that's happening on our LinkedIn's these days. You seeing an ad which says, do you want to have a biryani? You do not need a biryani, but you saw an ad. I think there's a lot of consumer rationalization which happens. Eventually you want to be happy, and you tell yourself that this purchase, if I eat this food, I'm going to be happy. Or if I buy this dress, I will be happy. Or if I, this particular home decor item will look great, and then my house will be perfect, right? So I think a lot of triggers in human mind is because we live in a world where we have the opportunity to buy beyond our means. And when I say means, I mean we are not limited by geography, right? When I am born and brought up in Ghaziabad. Now, if I'm in Ghaziabad and I want a halter neck top, there's probably 2 stores that have halter neck, and then they might not have it in my size, the color that I want. So I
And
was
the design.
limited
Yeah.
by means. But today, if I want a certain halter neck in a particular size, in a particular color, I can have it.
10 brands who are selling that.
So
Same thing.
the ability to have what you want beyond the limitation of the, you know, curbs that you have grown up with. I think the modern consumer, whether it is millennials, older millennials, or boomers or Gen X, I think we've all sort of lived a life of striving. And today that we have arrived, we want to make sure that we're making the most of this time. Now, you can call it YOLO, you can call it FOMO, you can call it by any other jargon, but I think the human mind is conditioned to ensure that it follows the path of least resistance. And shopping is one of those where we justify to ourselves that this is the path. It's 3 clicks.
Gratification.
It's 3 clicks
Yeah.
and
Instant
gratification. So
gratification.
so it's a least resistance.
Adding both your research and work on brand, can you share some example how culture nuances can play a major role in decision making?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I used to work with Nokia, and Nokia is a multinational company. I remember there was this one particular product called Nokia 80 Co. And we had a global ad which was created by makers from Finland. And it was a wonderful ad. It was beautiful. It was dry, sarcastic humor, which works beautifully in Nordic areas. But we played that in India, and people didn't even understand the ad. They're like, what just happened? So the ad was a guy who's, coming in, he's traveling on this road. There's nobody on that road. And if you're in Finland, the daylight is such that, there'll be certain hours and they're not exactly a really populated country like ours
Yes.
is. So it's possible to find time when there's nobody on the road and, there's somebody who's skinny dipping into ice and, coming out. And I think it was about durability and just being unique and finding your own space and so on and so forth. You show it to the Indian consumer, like, why is he going skinny dipping? Why is he all alone on the road? So the ad finished and the Indian consumers like, there must be something else coming after this because it just
This
did
doesn't
not
make
make
sense.
sense at all, right? So I think it's amazing how what works beautifully well for one part of the world absolutely doesn't work for the other
Further.
part of the
Yeah.
world. And I think that culture nuances, I think India is such a diverse country. This culture nuance can be very well explained within the north part of the India and the south or the
South.
east and the west
Yeah.
of how beautifully something works somewhere and it doesn't work somewhere
Even in
else. Right?
South, it is so diversified.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is a Tambram and he's a staunch vegetarian. We lived in Calcutta where fish is served as part of
It's a staple.
prasad, right? For them, it's vegetarian. So the culture nuances, even in India, are so diverse that I think it's super important as marketeers that we understand the people that we are speaking to and we speak to them in their language in a way that they feel neither looked down upon nor patronized. Because the consumer today does not want either of that. They want to be seen. And to truly see, I think it's important to observe.
Yeah, now I think now the shift has already happened. There is sort of macro and micro influencer that is doing the talks for the brand. And this is because of to give you the regional or the personal touch to the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, how do you differentiate between a lasting trend and a passing fad when analyzing consumer behavior?
That's a tricky one, right? Today, something is trending on social media. If you don't catch on to it, tomorrow it's too late. Every brand has already done it.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot necessarily wait for it to become a trend. You have to catch the passing, what was the word you used?
Fad?
Fad. So you have to catch the fad, right? You cannot necessarily wait for it to be a trend. But I think the application of that is super important, right? I've seen when Ori was becoming a theme, I've seen
Oh
a
God,
lot
this
of
happens.
right, a lot of brands, sort of jumped the bandwagon and took him to, create that 1 day worth of shareability, talkability, viewability. But I think Crocs is probably the only brand which has truly assimilated his values and, been able to create that campaign of gibbets and so on and so forth. So to me, A simple filter is versatility. If a fad is versatile enough that it works for you and me
Yeah.
across different age groups, geographies, um, demographics, economics, all of it, right? If it works, then I think that's a fad that I would want to be part of.
But do you think brands even think over all these things when they have to jump to one fad that is going on?
If a social media manager were to jump on every fad, then their social media page would just look like just fads. And then that brand is not telling a consistent story. And if that is the case, then the brand is not going to do very well. But I think as a brand, you need to have that filter of, is this for me?
Yeah.
And at a first level, I think it should be just, is this for my category?
For my consumer, for my category, works for my brand, like too many filters and then move to the.
Yeah. But more importantly, I think if you are a brand who's trying to tell a story, then you have to see how this fad works in my story.
Absolutely.
So instead of taking the brand to the fad's world, bring the fad into the brand's world, and then it works like magic.
Okay. Moving on, Dipti, you have such a like extensive career. You spent 15 years in the industry. You have seen the consumer through offline making purchase decision through offline channels, and have seen consumer evolving to online channels as well. So, what unique behavior that you have noticed among online shoppers compared to in-store shoppers?
I think so. Again, very category dependent.
Dependent, yeah.
Um, I would give you an example of Nokia, because at Nokia I had same products for online and offline, and then I had some products which are online exclusive, and I had some products which are offline exclusive. So if you ask somebody who's a P&L holder,
Mm-hmm.
then they will tell you that offline drives greater profitability
Yeah.
because the online consumer is spoiled with discounts.
Oh. So coming to personalization, since you spoke about personalization, there's an increasing demand in personalization. You would want all the experiences, your journey, your recommendation of product should be personalized to the audience. So where should brands draw a line between personalization and intrusion?
Yeah, I think Google gave us all a big scare by saying that, we're going to take away cookies and then you will have to only go to your first party data to have any sort of retargeting in place. And then they have been delaying that rollout for many years now. But I do think that there is an active movement in every company to collect
Data?
first party data.
Yeah.
And this is across the board globally and in India. I think what it does is just to be able to understand your consumer better, react to consumer demands better. It helps you, for example, on a social media, if I ask today that, hey, what should be the next category I should launch? Should it be um, cereal or should it be milk? I can get votes, but I do not know if women preferred cereal or men preferred cereal. I do not know which age group did, and I do
Hmm.
not therefore know what my consumer is.
Okay.
Versus if I send out an email and I know the email ID and I know the phone number, I know the location, then I actually get a customer profile to the same answer,
Hmm.
right? So that's the difference between the two, and therefore there is a lot of merit in companies going after personalization and wanting to speak to customer one on one so that they
Yeah.
are able to, you feel thirsty right now, there's a notification that says, do you want a chamomile tea, and there you go, you're ordering. So nothing beats that kind of response
Mm-hmm.
to a stimuli that you get at the right time. Having said that, I think because I've spent a lot of time on the digital side and being a digital marketer, I think there's always ethical concerns that sprout as to how much is too much,
Yeah.
right? I think in a world where, let's just say, all my views are on LinkedIn and there is super personalization or over personalization where only a certain kinds of roles are shown to me,
Yeah.
will I be okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah, there is a saying also, your phone is always listening to you.
Yeah.
Always. Like whenever you talk about something, maybe you're talking about insurance today, or you're talking about an SIP. And the moment you talk about it, your phone starts showing you exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's a time when I keep my phone in one room and I talk in in another
No,
room.
see, when you tell this to a customer, the customer will say, I have nothing to be fearful
Worried
of.
about.
What
Yeah.
is the worst that you can do? You can send me an ad. That's not something that fear gets triggered by. Like, hey, you'll send an ad, I'll ignore it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I think the problem arises when there's no regulation in place. So in
Yeah.
Europe, there is something called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which means that if I have created anything, which
Hmm.
includes my voice and my conversation in my house,
Okay.
I have the right on it.
So
You don't have the right
someone else
to
cannot
use.
use it.
No,
Not even brands.
no, you can't.
Okay.
This is my. If it comes to court, then that was my data, and you did not take explicit rights from me to use such data. Right. In India, unfortunately, we do not have such rules, but I do know that US is again developing something similar, and therefore there is. So the personalization is going to be slower in a Europe and US because of these stringent measures that are being put into place to ensure that there is an ownership of information.
How do you think that brands should bring more credibility to their customers? Because today customers are exposed with so many brands and there's no brand loyalty. So how should what a brand should be doing to bring that one thing to the customer that it brings loyalty to the brand?
I think what some of the new age brands are doing so beautifully is the founders telling their own stories. And the moment you are able to see a face behind the brand,
Hmm.
you see the purpose of the brand, and you see it, hear it from the horse's mouth uh, themselves, that creates an immediate association with the brand. So I
Okay.
see a lot of founders becoming creators and muses in their own ads for good reason.
Yeah.
I think consumers are truly rallying behind those who are here to serve them earnestly. And I think that credibility that, a founder who says that, I'm here for a purpose brings is unmatched to anything else.
Okay. Moving on, we have touched upon all the aspects or the stages of consumer behavior. I want to touch upon the post purchase behavior of consumer. How important it is for brands to actually address the post purchase nuances for the customers. How can they build strategies to ensure satisfaction?
I think post purchase is a non glamorous part of the job. And
Yeah, very
so
non
many,
glamorous. Nobody wants to do it.
and nobody wants to talk about it either,
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes so much of a difference of, did you have a one time consumer who lapsed, or do you have the loyal consumer?
Yeah.
And I think retention team is probably the most undervalued team sitting in every company. um, the whole process of building that post purchase cycle, from sending out the confirmation mail to the WhatsApp link to giving that information on where the product is in terms of tracking,
Yeah.
to ensuring that the product is actually delivered on time and sending a message saying, hey, it was delivered on time. It's an experience which helps the consumer, you know build trust with you as a brand, because
Yeah.
the first time is an experiment,
Correct.
right? Most consumers buy the least value product the first purchase when they buy from a new site,
Hmm.
and based on the experience of both the product and the service, they decide if they want to make another purchase.
Purchase. Yeah.
And I think it's a from some of the categories that we work with, I think beauty as a category, we work with brands like Tipsy Beauty, which is a new age Gen Z solution for beauty. um, Again, a brand which is delivering some great innovations, and we see how the repeat customers for them have truly moved the needle, because they had a lip oil which was a pH reactive lip oil. It changed colors. It was probably the first of its kind. Great reviews, got a lot of new customers. But then what? The lip oil stays for 6 months. What's the next purchase gonna be?
Yeah.
And I think that retention channel has truly helped build the second purchase for them in this category. It could be
Okay.
any of the other products, but I think it truly does help increase lifetime value of the customer to
Customers of the
focus on
platform.
that post purchase journey, because a scorned consumer is likely to not tell you their problem unless they really put it on Twitter, on LinkedIn. But it's highly likely that the consumer has just decided that that's it. I'm never going to come and buy again from you, and you'll never get to know this.
So, moving on, you have been awarded the best use of CGI and mixed reality by Mad Over Marketing for Super Bottoms.
Yes.
So, how effective the ads were for you, and how was the campaign?
I think Super Bottoms is a fabulous case study. I think what Pallavi is bringing to the table is amazing. She's fighting this battle of making diapers toxin free,
Yeah.
right? And the entire campaign was about not just the environmental impact it has, but also just the impact it has on babies, right? So the idea was to say switch to super. And the entire campaign, whether we did something with Neha Dhupia, whether we did something with Alia, the entire campaign was on switch to super as a campaign theme. After a point in time, we realized that we are not able to impress upon our audience the enormity of the situation, of how
Okay.
big it is. And we thought that mixed reality, will really help us explain how big the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
So we created these ads. We thought that as humans, right, it's very easy to say this is not my problem. This seems like a you problem, not a me problem, right?
Okay.
So what we did is we took cities, whether it's Calcutta, whether it is Mumbai, whether it is Delhi, and we took popular locations there, Victoria from Calcutta or the Ceiling Bridge from Mumbai, and we showed diapers just sort of raining from the sky and piling up and creating this big mess. Uh, and then saying, this is what plastic diapers do, these landfills, you just don't see it, but these landfills exist. And, mixed reality made it possible for us to show that impact, the largeness of it, the enormity of the problem, affordably. And then, here's a good choice, choose a cloth diaper. It was absolute moment of pride for us when the campaign went live, and the award obviously is a big validation for us. But I think it's just we believe in the campaign so much. We
Yeah.
really do believe that just because you're not seeing something does not mean that it does not
Doesn't
exist.
exist. Yeah.
And thanks to mixed reality and CGI, we created a lot of billboards as well, not real ones,
Yeah.
because cost.
Yeah.
But I think the enormity of a situation, I think mixed reality is able to help convey to the consumers without breaking the bank. So yeah, love
Yeah.
that campaign.
So, since you're not new to mixed reality, at Flam, we have been powering brands with mixed reality experiences across all touch points, whether it's TV, digital, print, or OH. It helps the brand to give a immersive experience and to give more storytelling to their customer and hence drive and lasting impact on them. Now, since mixed reality is transforming the way we communicate to our customers, how do you see that is influencing consumer behavior and getting associated with the brand at a more deeper level?
Yeah, I think the kind of impact that mixed reality
Yeah.
gives is much higher than a static ad for in a print, for example, right?
Okay.
I think it was Samsung perhaps or one of the other phone brands that recently did a print ad
Yeah.
where the ad would come alive and you scan a QR code and you could see the ad. I thought it was a fabulous execution of mixed reality,
Yes.
and you'd remember that. You'd remember watching either a WhatsApp video about it, or you'd remember somebody posting on LinkedIn about it. So I think the metric that gets moved with mixed reality is brand recall,
Yes.
because you've seen something different, you've seen something distinct, and that visual has an impact on your memory. So that visual memory is something that is long lasting. I do believe that if I, as a brand manager or as a head of marketing, my key metric to move is brand recall, I would certainly use mixed reality.
How do brands go about creating emotional connect with their customer?
I wish there was a secret formula that I could just share with you. But I think an emotional connect is something that's created over a period of time.
Okay.
I think it's like, you meet somebody and you like them or you don't like them based on their physical appearance, right?
Okay.
And then you start talking to them. Then you decide, do you like the, I'm going to call it post purchase experience, but the post interaction
Mm.
experience. Uh, But what stays with you is how they made you feel and how others made you feel for having interacted with them, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just going to take it straight to a product, right? You buy a product based on physical appearance. And then when you're using the product, you have the functional experience. But what you actually remember is how this product made you feel
Feel.
and how others reacted to you when you were, wearing that product or
Yeah,
using that
using
product,
that.
so on and so forth. Um, an emotional connect is created by the last two of how either a brand made me feel or how others felt because I used this particular brand. So emotional connect is definitely uh, built over a period of time, but I do think it's a value match, right? End of the day, as humans, we are more likely to connect to somebody who embodies the same value system that we do. Similarly, for brands, I think most consumers are looking for brands that embody the same value system that they have. And when they believe that they're part of a shared goal,
Yeah,
I think that creates a larger purpose than just a transactional relationship. So I think
absolutely.
if
Yeah.
as a brand you're able to get somebody to say, hey, we're in this together,
Yeah. Same
then
values, same purpose. Yeah.
yeah, then
That creates a lot more difference for the
that
consumer.
loyalty is priceless, right? You
Yeah.
can't buy that loyalty.
We can't.
So I do think that emotions is something that is hard work, comes with staying consistent and true to your messaging year over year, month over month,
It's
um,
important.
and not going by fads. I do think it's a path that is more difficult to tread than others, but I think when done right, um, I have this simple rule. Whenever I'm talking about any brand, I tell them, why don't you go over their Instagram page, do 3 scrolls, and tell me 3 words that come to your mind. What is this brand all about? Now, if the brand manager has the same 3 words that the customer has, the brand has done a stellar job because you were, even if 2 out of 3 are right, right?
Yeah.
But if they were not, then somewhere you miss the plot
Yeah.
and you need to reorient yourself. So
Yeah.
it's a great question to ask in an interview.
Yeah. I think it's simplicity in the messaging,
Yeah,
consistency in the messaging that makes the brand resonate better with the customers.
absolutely.
This was such an insightful session, Dipti. We had such fun knowing about more about consumer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for joining us today at Flamcast. We have more such insightful conversation coming up every week.